we can do 60 minutes. But we don't want to rush things. We want participants to get value from. Senate Chair, I think it's 4 o'clock. We should roll.
You have not moved by into panelists, please, Tosin. Can we quickly do that?
Yeah, we're going.
Bayo Adeosun. Bayo Adeosun, please. He's doing editorial so he can see the questions and everything.
Okay, Senator, you're on.
Tosin has to start recording so we can know that we're ready.
Yeah, started.
Yes.
It's paused. Recording is paused.
It's recording, it's live.
Good afternoon, distinguished JCI members, senators of JCI Nigeria, friends, members of JCI community, and ladies and gentlemen. It's our 3rd edition of the Lent series, and it's always a pleasure to have you join us Sunday afternoon. We do not take your time for granted. We know that you like to rest, but with the 2 editions we've had in the past, I'm sure you agree with me that it's 90 minutes of exciting time of listening to how we can, as leaders, as stakeholders, continue to have this dialogue on how we can improve our nation, Nigeria, how we can contribute to the discourse, how we can change the narrative of our national development. And today you have very, very exciting entrepreneurs in the house who will be talking about their journey, how COVID has changed things, how we should look at the way we do businesses going forward, from the micro to the medium and small medium business. And of course, looking to how the big conglomerates will come out of this growing businesses that have stood the test of time, that have run in the last few years, some in the last 5 years, some have gone on for more than 10, 20 years. We'll be hearing from them, their experience. I hope that for the entrepreneurs in the house, you have 1 or 2 things to learn, and that together we can build a Nigeria of our dream. Once again, welcome and good afternoon. During the week, we lost one of our own, JCI Senator Larry Ajuya, Engineer Larry Ajuya. He worked with SPDC. He was a member of the JCI Warri chapter, a knight. He was a gentleman, and that's the way most people would refer to him. He was a very amiable person. He was very easygoing, but he was a very practical man. And we'd just like to dedicate the first few minutes of this webinar to Engineer Sir Lawrence Orishabemiwo Ajuya. He passed on the 6th of July, age 63. We miss him, and we just have, for those of us who have met him or who know him, have wonderful memories. I ask that we look at this picture for those who have met him before, and we spare 1 minute to pray for the repose of his soul. May the soul of our JCI Senator Lawrence Ajuya rest in perfect peace. Amen. Amen. I'd like to acknowledge and welcome JCI Senator Ashvina from Mauritius, who's joined us. And I hope that as the meeting progresses, we'll recognize some of our senators who are not Nigerians, but have continued to be part of this program. At this point in time, I'd like to hand over to our moderator for today, JCI Senator Bayo Morakinyo from Abuja. So technology has made life so easy. We have Warri, we have Port Harcourt, we have Lagos, we have Ibadan, we have Abuja, we have everybody from all over the country joining us in this webinar. Senator Bayo Morakinyo will be moderating the session today, and we have our panelists. We'll be introducing them, and then we'll hear from them and learn from their wealth of experience. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, distinguished senators. Good evening, the host, and good evening, all our guests and friends all across the globe. You are welcome to the Leadership Excellence Series 3.0. Today, we are centering our topic today on entrepreneurship in nation building. As we all know, that entrepreneurship is a center of development of any nation. Without entrepreneurship, a nation will be in a standstill. So today we have 3 players in different industries in Nigeria who are going to lead the discussion with all of us, for us to learn from their wealth of experience, for us to know what actually is going on in the entrepreneurship sector of our nation. We have our panelists. We have the first person, we have engineer Keloe Chikwogo. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing well, I'm sorry. Keloe Chikwogo, PhD, MFR, Fellow Academic of Engineering, is a Managing Director of Boscale Nigeria Limited from 1989 to present. Is the Chairman of Governing Board of Jefta Comprehensive Schools, 1995 to present. Member, Engineering Hall of Fame of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Fellow, Nigerian Academy of Engineering. And lastly, member, Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You're welcome this evening, sir. We have Kalada Apiafi. Kalada Apiafi has been a management consultant for 40 years and trainer for over 35 years. He is a fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants and certified trainer, International Training Fellow, ITF of JCI, a worldwide federation of young leaders and entrepreneurs. Center for Management Development, CMD, Nigeria, International Finance Corporation, IFC, the private sector arm of the World Bank, and Learning and Performance Institute. He is also a certified trainer of trainers. He is actively involved in JCI, and in 1997 was conferred with senatorship of the organization, making him a live member. He is a past Secretary General of JCI Africa and Middle East Senate Association, and current chairman of JCI Nigerian Foundation. Good evening, sir. You're welcome. We have a super lady with a magic touch. Adetola, in December 2019, graduated from the Harvard Business School, Boston, USA. She is the founder and CEO of the Glitz Group of Companies, with an event center, now one of the most sought after event centers in Lagos, in Lekki, Lagos, an auto repair garage, an all automated mechanic workshop in Lekki, Lagos, Glitz Business, Glitz Residence and Apartments, Glitz Entertainment and Promotions, amongst others. All these businesses have been successfully run till date. She's a certified John Maxwell trainer. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the panelists we have for today with a whole lot of experience in different sectors, from the school sector, the engineering sector, from the hotel, manufacturing, and many other sectors of the economy. Before I call on the panelists for the discussion to start, entrepreneurship plays an influential role in the economic growth and standard of living of the country. As a startup, you think of starting a business to feed yourself. You later move in to feed your family. You later move in to feed the people around you, who are the people that you employ. Gradually, you start feeding the society, increasing the GDP of your country. And before you know it, you're already contributing to the economic development and community development of your nation. This is the story of an average entrepreneur. And we know that this is the only thing that can make the economy of any nation to stand. So on this note, I would like to start by calling on Engineer Keloe to share with us his wealth of experience in the school sector, in the engineering sector, and all other sectors that he belongs. We want to know where we are today and how did we get there in terms of job creation, in terms of wealth creation, and in terms of the living standard of Nigeria. So you are welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, moderator Bayo. It's my big pleasure to be here, to be on this panel to Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so to talk about the, well, I don't know if you heard the other thing I said. I was saying thank you for this opportunity, and to say that, to talk about where my experiences and some of the things that, some of the challenges that I have experienced, and where we are in this country, how we are, how we are doing in this country. I would like to talk about for us to think about the country, say 20, 30, 40 years ago, even 50 years ago, and do a kind of comparison of where we were in those days and where we are now. Secondly, I'd like to think about the kind of things that we are endowed with in this country. That's actually, when I look at these two perspectives, I get a better picture of how we are doing in Nigeria. Where we used to be in those days, where we had situation where there was good employment all these years. People came out of school in their thousands and got employed in those days. Now that's different now. Hundreds of thousands come out these days and there's no employment. Security is totally out. All kinds of things are gone wrong in terms of facilities for the common man, for the normal Nigerian. We have situation where the society that we have is so stable in terms of weather. We are blessed with arable land. We are blessed with viable human resources, with enviable human resources in this country. Now, when we ask ourselves how we are doing right now in Nigeria, where we are right now in Nigeria, with respect to how we used to be, considering these two perspectives, I would say that we have regressed severely. we don't even have water. We don't have basic things as that we should have in Nigeria. Now these are situations where we have regressed. Fortunately, provide opportunities for us to get creative and establish things and get entrepreneurial and do things for our own benefits in Nigeria. However, we'll get to that later in the conversation. There are challenges that make that very difficult. So I think that where we are now in Nigeria is a far place away from where we ought to have been, where we were even 20, 30, 40 years ago. I don't know if that makes a good submission as to where we are.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, what you said now is that there used to be employment opportunity in the past, but now employment is a very big issue in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And the issue of security is a very big challenge to us in this country. I would like to invite Senator Kalada Apiafi to share with us from his wide experience on where are we and how do we get there. He has 40 years experience in the management consulting industry. So you are welcome to the floor, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Bayo. I'm happy to be here and greet my fellow senators and my fellow panelists and the participants. Yeah, it's interesting. Just like Elo said, there have been quite a lot of changes. So maybe I should start from the other way around. How did we get here? Well, entrepreneurship development, like you know, in every society, you need entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurship development has been going on for a very long time. In fact, Abraham Maslow said many years ago, I think that was in the 40s, that the most valuable 100 people to bring into a deteriorating society would not be economists or politicians or even engineers, but rather 100 entrepreneurs. Essentially, at the beginning, why I'm taking this perspective is the fact that in my consulting business, we've also had to develop entrepreneurs, help entrepreneurs develop their business plans and all that. And of course, being on the board of FAIT for a couple of years, about 10 years, we also did a lot of entrepreneurship development. So in the 80s, when we first of all started, there was a lot of emphasis, you know, everybody felt that entrepreneurs they needed finance, that once they got finance, they will, you know, be okay. But somewhere along the line, we found out that even with the finance, a lot of their businesses were failing. I mean, some of them were going off to marry new wives, but we're glad that that has stopped, or at least reduced drastically. So I normally take exception when people say, you give an entrepreneur a loan, that is what he will do. So we now said, okay, no, it's capacity building they need. That's why they are having financial problems. And that's why they're not running their businesses well. So we went into the era of capacity building. So there were all kinds of capacity building programs all over the place for entrepreneurs. And then all of a sudden we discovered that they still had problems. So now we're at the stage where we're combining capacity building and finance. And of course, technology has now come in. So a lot of entrepreneurs are leveraging on technology to build their businesses. I mean, most of us are having our meetings on Zoom now. So, so like I said, entrepreneurs are very important. And in fact, they're doing quite a lot. I mean, we talked about the fact that they create jobs. In fact, entrepreneurs basically run MSMEs, and they create about 80% of the employment in the country. To surprise you, it shouldn't surprise you to know, but they provide a lot of the employment in the economy. And I got a statistic from the Nigeria Export Promotion Council about a week or two ago that actually 40% of the non-oil exports are actually carried out by entrepreneurs. So despite the difficult environment, entrepreneurs are still, you know, trying to forge ahead. Because I must say that Nigeria is one of the places, it's a very difficult place to do business. I'll give some examples. There's overregulation. There's over-regulation, the tax, there's NAFDAC. They're all trying to ease up things a bit, but there's a lot of regulation. I mean, they're all dues from local government level, the state taxes you, the federal government taxes you, and in the whole midst of it, you're supposed to fulfill your role as an entrepreneur in terms of creating jobs and creating wealth for yourself, because I mean, nobody went into business to be poor. So presently, there are a lot of agents, even SMEDAN, we've made quite a bit of progress. There's now a federal agency called SMEDAN, Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency, that's also supposed to assist entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, it has become an agency. I don't know how the legislature hijacked the agency, but it has become an agency for giving out constituency projects. And really, an agency that's supposed to be developing entrepreneurs is supposed to be channeling most of its resources to entrepreneurs, not to legislators. So the experiences of people who have consultancy jobs from SMEDAN, and they're told that, some senator or whoever is behind the job. There's a lot of difficulty in accessing funding, even though there are a lot of schemes for central bank, there's Bank of Industry, there's a lot of difficulty accessing funding because, again, a lot of the entrepreneurs also don't know how to package themselves. Okay, so where we are now, a lot of entrepreneurs are also aware of business plans. So a lot of them are able to do business plans. In the early days, people just get up, start a business, and of course the business will fail. But at least with a business plan now, there's a lot of awareness of business planning. So a lot of people are doing business plans to set up their businesses. We've also evolved to a stage where, I mean, before, once the entrepreneur dies, the business dies. Most of the businesses die. There are a lot of entrepreneurs, those days when we were growing up, SB Bakare, Fajem Iroko, all those people, of course, Fajem Iroko still has rank zeros, but most of his businesses collapse. But now there's a move towards succession planning. So a lot of the businesses are now transiting smoothly to second generation, relatively smoothly, or to management. Because again, a lot of you may set up a business as an entrepreneur and your children are not interested in the business. That doesn't mean the business should die. Okay, so there's a lot of emphasis on succession planning. I think I would like to stop there at this stage. There's a lot more interest in entrepreneurship. There are a lot of programs. Faith Foundation is there. There are a lot of NGOs, but there's progress. But there's still a lot that can be done for entrepreneurs to make life a bit easier for them. Infrastructure is totally lacking. Let me say. I mean, if you have power for 6 hours a day and you have to use alternative power, that increases your costs, so you can't be competitive. So we need to get basic infrastructure right. High-speed internet is not so much in Nigeria. Maybe the big companies have it. So you find out that sometimes you're even having a Zoom meeting and you're praying that the thing won't go off. So yeah, that's where we are now. And I think that I've given a bit of insight into the journey up to today, because SMEDAN, for instance, there had always been a small enterprise department in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Federal Commerce Ministry, which is now Industry, Trade and Investment. But in 2002, I think, a law was passed bringing the SMEDAN into existence. And like I said, SMEDAN started off well, but it veered off into, I think when Obasanjo left, they went back to being under the ministry. And really they've been choked. Before they were under the presidency, they were reporting directly to, and entrepreneurship development is that important. It's that important because the Small Business Act in the US links it to even creating peace. If people are busy, they won't have time to be going to be creating problems. So the issue of entrepreneurship needs to be taken a bit more seriously. Who is muting me? Does it mean my time is up? If my time is up, just tell me, moderator.
So your time is up, sir.
Thank you very much.
So thanks so much, sir. You said the funding issue, the lack of succession plan, lack of infrastructures, and the funding, capacity building, and finance. I would like Adetola Adetunji to share with us our experience in this COVID-19 period. COVID-19 has shut down a lot of business. Businesses are gradually coming back now, but they are crawling. I want you to share your experience on this COVID in your line of business.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone, and good evening to my co-panelists. I'm in a very safe place, and thank you for tweaking my own question, because I would have found it very difficult to speak from Senator Kalada talked about 30, 40, or Senator Kelly 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and I'm thinking, huh? Where am I supposed to start from 40 years ago? Anyways, so thank you for tweaking my question. For me, well, for my own line of businesses, every one of them except for one, which I mean, strangely or coincidentally is the newest, was shut down throughout since March. So very recently when we opened up, just one. And so every other one has remained shut down. How did we get here? Well, we're aware that the outbreak was first identified in China towards the end of 2019. And then the World Health Organization declared it as a pandemic on the 11th of March. And since then, I'll say life has not remained the same. It's unusual, it's unprecedented. So for the first time, those of us that are small business owners don't even have mentors or anyone to go to for guidance, tell me how you did it when this happened or whatever, because no one seems to have been through what we're currently going through. And it's so bad that it's affecting every sector of the economy globally. So people and businesses are struggling to reset to a new normal, which unfortunately is still constantly being redefined, constantly being redesigned, that is still constantly changing. So in addition to the human impact, there's also significant economic, business, commercial impact that is being felt globally. It's not peculiar to us. And as the virus knows no border, really, the impact will continue to spread. That's the I'll say the painful truth. The Fortune 1000, I hear that 95% of the Fortune 1000 across the globe have been affected and are already seeing the disruptions of COVID-19, So business patterns are beginning to shift. Businesses, people, government are making significant interventions in response to the pandemic. And we're gradually adapting to a new way of life as we have to learn how to move on despite I had a conversation a few days ago with one of the lead, of the Safety Commission in Lagos State, just to have an idea of when the event centers are likely to be open again. And the guy was like, I can't lie to you, it's not looking like it. So, but are we going to sit down, fold our hands and continue to cry over, what we do not have control over? The answer is no. So, I mean, no doubt a larger percentage of entrepreneurs have been badly hit by this pandemic. I tried not to use the word post-COVID because it's becoming very obvious that this is already the new normal. So there's really no point waiting for, a post-COVID season. The question is, how do we begin to move forward from this point? It took a while before a lot of us entrepreneurs got oriented in the new situation, because almost every one of us we didn't envisage it, we didn't prepare for this. So we struggled to get a balance. And to be honest, it even was causing a lot of mental health issues for so many, but we have to learn how to move on, as the pandemic is definitely influencing traditional entrepreneurial decision-making process. Things are not likely to be or ever go back to the way we knew them. Our well-being, I would say, is paramount at this time. Someone called me sometime in April and said to me, whatever you do, make sure you have sound mind. And when she got off the phone, I just sat back and thought a bit more about that phrase, sound mind. I thought it was actually extremely important. None of us has ever been through, what we're currently going through. So there's really nowhere to seek advice or counsel. And that's what makes it worse. I mean, it's been a tough time. From my own experience, I cannot deny that. But again, I believe that's what entrepreneurs are made for. I mean, periods and seasons like this, as simple as it sounds, one of the things I battled with was whether to continue paying salaries or to stop. I mean, the company is not earning, we're not earning anything. So really, how am I supposed to pay salaries? But again, understanding that for every one person that is in your employment, paying them or not paying them, that decision has a ripple effect on families on, you'll be surprised, as young as those people are, some of them are breadwinners, you know, so the kind of, and like Papa K said, when people are busy, they are not likely to go around looking for trouble and all that. But when that's not, I mean, if their revenue stream or income is guaranteed, there's a tendency that, I mean, you are able to, people still maintain their sanity. So it's been a very tough period, extremely so. It still is, but we're pivoting, because I mean, innovation is the key word now. If you stay where you are, then I mean, you either innovate or die. Really, that's the reality of today. You either innovate or you die, or the business dies. So we have to begin to think outside the box and begin to take decisions that are a bit different from what we're used to.
Thank you, Adetola. You said, it's either we innovate or we die. May we not die.
Amen.
So I really want to appreciate everyone for joining us this evening. We have a lot of JCI senators who are here with us this evening. And we have a lot of JCI members all across the globe. We have from JCI Mauritius. We have from JCI Nigerian Senate Association. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. And we promise to let your time count this evening. If you have questions, you can send your questions to us by sending a short message to us. So we are continuing with our question series. Engineer Keloe, so I want to know, how do we where are we heading now? After this, we are still in COVID, or we can say we are now in post-COVID. Where are we heading to as a nation in terms of job creation? That is a major problem. In terms of the standard of the living, people are losing their jobs. Companies are folding up. So where are we heading to? You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Bayo. Simply, I think we are heading towards disaster. Okay, we're heading towards a state of anarchy in this country. The way things are going, we're heading towards strife. Things are so bad that it's well, you know how we say it in Nigeria, God forbid. Things are so bad that we have a constant fear that at some point, those who are basically comfortable might be in danger of even moving around, because the general populace is actually very suffering under a lot of pressure. And that's because of the things that the poor leadership this country has had over a long time. Okay, we know very well that it's very common for various governments in Nigeria to set up things like 5-year development plan, and all that kind of thing, 10-year development plan, and these are very beautiful plans. One of the recent ones was the Vision 2020, which is fantastic plan, fantastic thing that the country kind of hoped would do. But that 2020 has come now, and we realize that nothing in that thing has been done. In fact, we are in a much worse position than we were at that time. So the country has all these plans, but none gets done. We don't ever get to execute those plans. That's one of the things that's the reason why we think that some of us think that we're heading towards strife. We're heading towards anarchy. Now, just like Kalada said, one of the biggest challenges of entrepreneurs is finance. It's finance. It's finance. That is now taken for granted that the entrepreneur has put together all the things that he must put together, which is a proper plan for his business and all that, and the business is viable. The major problem again there is finance. The other problems like infrastructure and the things like the societal things like over regulation and so on. All those ones are challenges that happen to entrepreneurs in Nigeria. And what I think is that as to where we are going, where we are headed, what I think is that we should look at how to head in the right direction. That is, what are the things that we need to do to get people to move forward, to get entrepreneurs, to get budding entrepreneurs to actually actualize themselves. And I think that, you know, when I think back to when we were young JCs, picking up trainings from wherever we could get, we approached mature JCs who owned businesses, who had succeeded in their enterprise to give us trainings. And we sat through trainings like time management, personal dynamics, business development, all those kind of trainings. We benefited from it. And the JCs now, the JCI now in Nigeria is very rich in very capable, very wealthy human beings who had gone through this system from the 80s up to the 90s and the 2000s. Now, the thing is that I believe that it is time for those people, all these JCs, to start paying back. You know, the payback is not just by training, it is by addressing those problems that we think the younger ones would have, the younger ones who have established, who wish to establish businesses, who wish to, who have the entrepreneurial spirit, who have those challenges. How do we mentor them? How do we guide them through the problems that we may have experienced? I remember that when I set up my business, one of the biggest problems I had was finance. So, and when we set up and the business had gone on, the engineering business had gone on for 6 years before we set up the school. And in spite of the success we had made in the engineering, it was still very difficult to get finance for the school from any bank that time. That was in 1995. So the engineering business had to now sponsor that other business, had to birth it, so to speak. So I believe that businesses that are set up, or enterprises that are set up by budding entrepreneurs, would benefit a lot from support that could come from JCs who had succeeded. There are a lot of successes in the JCI Senate in Nigeria, the JCI Senate. These successes could come together, get into something like a fund, create a fund. We keep hearing of all these funds that various groups set up. You know, there's one that Union Bank also is doing now, where they are doing 250,000 naira for whoever succeeds in the things they put in place. I think that the JCI Senate could set up a large fund. I don't know how much. I'm just like thinking aloud. And this fund will be managed by the Senate chair and the committee. And this will be budding entrepreneurs in the JCs, in JCI Nigeria, who wants to be helped in their funding, could apply for part of this, and we put a limit and all that. The mechanism can be worked out later on. But I think that's the way we need to do, one of the ways we can go to be able to overcome that basic problem, that very basic problem that a creative mind would have when he has decided on what to go or where to go. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will call on Papa K, Senator Kalada. Please, sir, what is the right decision that we need to take now? Where are we heading, and what is the right decision?
Okay, there are several things that have to be done, and that is one of the challenges of Nigeria, that the problems are so many that sometimes you don't know where to start from. But I think if we take a cue from Obasanjo, at least it solves the problem of telecommunications. So for me, I believe that we need to focus on entrepreneurship. There's no doubt about that. There are a lot of schemes, but a couple of years, about last year or year before, I read that, even some of those schemes, a lot of the money doesn't actually get to the entrepreneurs. I was in one of the states in the southeastern part of Nigeria, and the government of that state had disbursed 1 billion naira. And among all the entrepreneurs that were gathered at that forum, none of them had access to it. So we need to take the problems of the country a lot more seriously. If there are funds meant for entrepreneurs, then those funds should go to the entrepreneurs. I mean, I'm sure it's still happening up to today. The other thing is that SMIDAN has come up with an MSME policy. It's a fine document. So they should be given full powers to implement that policy. I don't believe for any reason that SMIDAN should be under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry or Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. So also in all the other states too. Abia State, for example, has taken a lead. They have a Ministry of SME Development. Okay, so they're no longer under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry because the problems of entrepreneurs, they're too numerous to be one department in a ministry. They're too numerous. They're too numerous. So other states too should take it. I know Lagos State has a lot of entrepreneurship development programs. Okay, so one of the things is that entrepreneurship has to be accorded top priority. And one of the signs is to create specific organizations to deal with the problems of entrepreneurs. And stop doing, SMIDAN should stop doing all these constituency projects. SMIDAN will not set up for the National Assembly. The other thing also, the private sector also has a role to play. Just like Kelo said, so you have a Faith Foundation that has been doing a lot of work in the entrepreneurship space, and they've developed a lot of people who are now billionaires. And how did Fola set up that NGO? In Guarantee, they used to interview hundreds of thousands of people for 100 jobs. So one day he asked his partners, where do the remaining people end up? And he now said, okay, at least let him give them the opportunity to be entrepreneurs as an alternative to employment, and it worked. So again, a lot of philanthropists also have to look in the entrepreneurship space. Then, like I said, I keep on talking about priorities. It's always good to have priorities and areas of focus. I think support to entrepreneurs has to be targeted. We have to have priority areas. We can't just support entrepreneurs, even the man that is, doing karakata. So, entrepreneurs in the IT space, for example, need to be given support. I also believe agric and agro-processing. In fact, I believe that entrepreneurs who are also in the space of using local raw materials, including, when I talk about local raw materials or local resources, let me use the word resources, including the brains of Nigerians. Nigerians invent things. Kelo is an inventor. Nigerians invent things, and they start asking, the questions they will ask you, but if that thing is invented by somebody from abroad now, they will all jump at it. So even our local human beings, one of the most wasted resources in Nigeria is the human beings, the human resource. There are a lot of people that are idling that can do things. So there has to be, a lot of focus on entrepreneurship. And the agencies that have been set up to support entrepreneurship should be allowed to do their work. There are other areas to get constituency projects, MDG projects, or all those other things, but please not in the space of entrepreneurship, because we've already said it's fundamental to the development of any nation. Entrepreneurs are the engine of the economy. Without entrepreneurs, the economy is not going anywhere. If you have a set of people employing 80% of the employable people or people in employment, they create 80% of jobs. And those are not people to joke with. Yeah, I think I don't want to be told my time is up, so I've stopped now.
Thank you, sir. Everything is centered on entrepreneurship. Focus on entrepreneurship, the engine of the economy, and it's still the entrepreneurship. Nothing can help a nation apart from entrepreneurship. So thank you, sir. I want to ask Adetola, where are we heading? In your own line of business, where are we heading? And even in the general perspective, where are we heading? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. I believe that, well, just like every other virus that we've seen in recent years, Ebola, Zika, SARS, COVID-19 threat will eventually fade. And I mean, just that the social impact, socioeconomic impact will still be felt long after the virus fades. The scale of this crisis is quite unprecedented, but I still believe very strongly that there's a silver lining. Eventually, we'll come out on the other side of the pandemic with a greater sense of personal empowerment and increased connection to our customers. All of this will now be advantageous for our businesses in the future. The crisis has shown us how we need to own our skills, to be more open to possibilities, to leverage more on technology, to remain focused in times of crisis. Maybe we've laid too much emphasis on the white collar jobs. Maybe we want to focus on, other things. What happened to our vocational skills? So these are all the things that we're all beginning to have a think about and begin to go back to. It also shows that we need to create an emotional attachment to our customers. Customers that are emotionally connected are more engaged with your brand. They will provide more value, and there will be repeat purchase or repeat service requests and all that. The truth is, every business needs to innovate. We need to think of what or how our business will remain relevant despite what's going on globally. So we need to be factual. The future will no longer be normal at all. The new normal is now business unusual. It won't be the way we did business in the past. The new normal is innovation. We have to begin to innovate. We need to embrace the digital workspace using collaboration tools and new ways of working. Platforms like Zoom, like what we are on right now. I mean, who could have thought that JCI conferences will be held on Zoom? Who would have thought that? It's strange because sometime last year, as president of JCI Nigeria, one of the meetings we attended, the international conferences, there was a lot of argument about, I think some countries came with the request of virtual membership. And it was, the older generation thought, these people, which one is virtual membership again? What do you mean by, people that don't want to be physically present for meetings and things like that? But, the younger folks, the millennials thought, I love what you do. I love the organization, but I don't want to wear tie on Sundays. I wear tie Monday to Saturday. So can we be a bit different? But it was turned down. Who would have thought that would hold general assemblies across the world using technology? So we need to begin to embrace this platform. Zoom, there's Google Meet, and so many others. They now support team communication, file sharing, document editing. You can do literally anything. So because even after this pandemic is over, these forms of collaboration are here to stay, whether we like it or not. And we have to begin to incorporate them into our businesses. Necessity is the mother of invention. And we all know that technology is a universal enabler. So we need to encourage new ways of technology-driven work to drive efficiencies and productivity. We need to maybe slow down a bit on the white collar jobs. It maybe a bit more focus is required as far as vocational skills are concerned. So for me, these are the kind of thoughts we should begin to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Adetola. We have to slow down on white collar jobs. We have to think outside the box, and we have to be very innovative for us to survive in this post-COVID era. We have with us this evening our national president, JCI Nigeria Ambassador Onyechukwu Ebelodogo. We also have the national president from JCI Mauritius, Francesco, and we have a lot of JCI senators here this evening. Please, we want you to signify if you are a JCI senator or you are a JCI member, signify and show your, we want to know your location as well. So thank you. We have some questions here. The first question we have is from JCI Senator Sadiq Rotimi. For entrepreneurship to thrive, should emphasis be more on skills acquisition and retaining, or on our current educational focus? For entrepreneurship to thrive, should emphasis be on skills acquisition and retraining, or on our current educational focus? Engineer Keloisa.
Thank you, Bayo. The second question, whether we should focus on educational. Can you on retraining or educational? Can you say it again, please?
For entrepreneurship to thrive,
yeah,
should emphasis be more on skills acquisition and retraining, or on our current educational focus?
Okay, I think it's on a bit of both of them. Firstly, it's the people who have skills are more likely to do better with entrepreneurially. Okay, as apart from the other peculiarities of an entrepreneur. On the educational part, one of the problems that entrepreneurs in Nigeria have is that there is a big decline in the quality of education these days. And you would have to do a lot of retraining of your people when you take in employees coming out of schools, the way the schools are running now. You have to do a lot of retraining. So there's need for educational standards to be improved. I just hope I got the question right. And also there is need for a lot of vocational education to happen. It used to be that the governments had a lot of trade centers and such centers where people could get formal education in terms of vocational education. All these schools most of them went out of function. Some were upgraded, some were closed. Now, the result is that there's a severe lack of really qualified craftsmen and technicians in Nigeria. Okay, but the fact is again that these people, people who have such trainings, they form the base of the enterprise development in any economy. So for the thing to thrive, we need to look at both areas. That is the area of upgrading our educational system and the area of improving on the provision of vocational education. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. From Senator Gabriel Indahosa to Senator Kalada. For access to finance, we want you to talk about the various layers and sources of finance for businesses of different sizes since ignorance of such sources is the first challenge. For access to finance, please talk about the various layers and sources of finance for businesses of different sizes, since ignorance of such sources is the first challenge. Senator Kalada.
Okay, thanks for that question. Just before I answer that, I'd just like to touch a bit on the question about education. I believe that, because this is a nation of entrepreneurs, I believe that entrepreneurship education should actually start from the primary level. Because most of us remember things more from our primary school days. You can see when we started talking about 40 years ago. So there's a bit of it, the university says part of their curriculum now, and a bit of it at secondary level, but it should also go down to the primary level. Now, to access to finance, it's a very good pointer, because a lot of times startups always start looking for loans. And really for startups, I mean, you don't have any track record. Who is going to give you a loan? Which bank is going to give you a loan? Because banks have a lot of risk mitigating factors, because it's not their money, it's other people's money. So they have to guard against, they have to guard against risk. They can't, they can't trade away people's money, which is what happens if the business fails. So really, when you're starting up, first of all, you have to have some money of your own. Because even if you want a bank loan, you have to have some of your money to put into the business. So first of all, you have to have money as an entrepreneur, no matter how little it is of your own to put in the business. Because if you don't have anything at stake in the business, then why should I back you? And just like Senator Idahosa said, a lot of people overlook that. They just do a business plan and they start going all over the place looking for loans and say nobody wants to give them loans. Even as an individual, of course, I'll support somebody. I have a mentee who submitted a business plan, and she has about 70% of the money. So I mean, that kind of person can be supported. So at the first level, you have to have your own funds. Now, another mistake entrepreneurs make, you have to be, as an entrepreneur, you have to be humble. You have to be modest. I mean, some of them have better chance of getting money from a microfinance bank. I mean, I advised a mentee to open an account with a microfinance bank. She came back 2 weeks later to tell me, I've opened the account in GTB. GTB, it sounds very nice, but GTB they're not focused on SMEs. They're looking for big business. So, some of us just have to be humble. The microfinance banks, they're there, especially because they're there. Their focus area is small scale businesses. Whereas GTB and the commercial banks, that's not the area of emphasis. But it's part of what we're talking about. Sometimes, these mentors, they want you to mentor them, but they don't want to listen to you. So again, for some of the micro and small enterprises, they have a lot of access to funds from the microfinance banks, especially the bigger ones like LAPO, Asion, and there are several others like that. So like I said, the commercial bank really should be your last resort. And that should be when you've gotten, maybe you just need working capital, because really, again, the commercial banks, they are there for short-term finance. They're not there for long-term finance. Okay. DBN, the Development Bank of Nigeria, has also channeled a lot of money for small businesses into the microfinance bank and some commercial banks. So you can also, head in that direction. So that's that for startups. There are also angel investors, people who just like to support businesses that are starting. So you have to look for those angel investors. But like I keep on saying, you must be armed with a business plan. Your business plan, first of all, is the blueprint for your business, and it increases your chances of raising funds. Okay, so now when your business starts to grow, that's when you can start talking to the commercial banks, mainly for working capital, because their business is short-term finance. Another area that is neglected, although that industry has to be restructured a bit to come down a bit, is the private equity companies. There are a lot of companies that are willing to put equity into businesses. Okay, they're called private equity companies. But, you know, people don't want to relinquish even 10% of their business. And as the saying goes, it says it's better to have 10% of something than 100% of nothing. So there are private equity companies like African Capital Alliance, there's Abraj Group. Their conditions also are very stiff, but then you can approach them. And of course, their threshold is also very high. They want to fund businesses of millions of dollars. So we need to start seeing how there can be private equity businesses that look at, you know, the lower end. But the argument normally is that, look, I mean, for me to fund a business of $1 billion and a business of $1 million, it's the same amount of paperwork. So why should I be looking for a business of $1 million when I can get business of $1 billion? So that's their argument. So maybe we need to start having some kind of hybrid private equity businesses, or maybe get some philanthropists who are not so much after profit that can set up those private equity businesses. But you see, the thing people also don't understand is that the private equity investor exits eventually. So you can buy him out, or you can even take your business to the stock exchange. Okay, so people have to start looking at, you know, bringing in equity investors. There are unlike, you know, there are always issues of having partners, but you have to do your documentation very well. You know, a lot of people, they don't do documentation very well. They say, I've known this man for 50 years, then you don't sign agreements. There must be all type of agreements, shareholders agreements, and so on and so forth. Everything must be documented. You must seek the advice of lawyers. There must be corporate governance. A lot of the problems of entrepreneurs also is that they're the MD, they're the board of directors, they're the accountant and everything like that. You can't do it. Now, so an advantage of private equity also is that they put people on the board, and you'll be surprised at the benefits of that, as opposed to taking a bank loan where, I mean, when your loan is due, you know, these days it's very easy. They just take the money from your account. You don't have to issue check. You know, you just check you just get an alert that so million has left your account. Quarterly charge, discharge, interest, and so on and so forth. Okay, so people need to start looking at, you know, equity investors and things like that. That will also help you run your business. I hope I've addressed those issues. Of course, ultimately, you can go to the stock exchange. Then we'll come and buy shares in your business then.
Thank you, sir. Another question to Senator Keluo. As JC, who are startup entrepreneurs, how can JCI senators assist in terms of mentorship and investment from Idesiri Ekokota? As JC, who are startup entrepreneurs, how can JCI senators assist in terms of mentorship and investment?
Well, firstly, I think what exists right now is the informal mentorship that is available inside the JCI body. Some of us in my startup days, we embraced it. We sought personal advice and from time to time from JC members who were more established, who were already very established. I remember a lot of times I sought advice from JCI Senator Muyiwa Bamboshi, for instance. That is the informal situation that exists right now. Now, what I'm proposing is that JCI Senate should put together a fund to take on this issue of assisting in funding startups that JC members are bringing on board, which would be, of course, taken through the various levels of analysis, certifications, and so on, to see whether they are worth supporting or not. The body has enough people to raise adequate funds to address this among our young ones. We do not have to leave everybody to the open market where they are seeking for funds, and a lot of times, because the funds are difficult to get, ideas that are brilliant just die away. You know, so I think the Senate president. Well, my suggestion is that the JCI Senate Nigeria should put together this kind of platform. I don't know the size of the money, but I know that any amount of money that the Senate targets to put together for this, it will be achieved. And modalities of disbursement or utilization should be set up, you know, and the benefits will come. Of course, it's not free money. It's money they have to pay back with minimal interest. But it becomes easier for us to enable our own, so to speak. That's my answer to that question. I think it's actually very, very important.
Thank you, sir. I'm so happy that we have a lot of JCI senators here this evening, and everybody is hearing that JCI Senate should have a Senate capital for startup, which is part of the mentorship we all have been talking about. It's now time for us to look into that. We have another question from Senator Olanio Collins from Ireland. With the social distancing, what is the way forward for hospitality business? With the social distancing, what is the way forward for hospitality business? Adetola Juiton.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Senator Collins. Well, I believe that we will still get back to where we were as far as partying and hospitality is concerned, but it's not going to happen in the immediate. That's the painful truth. So even for those of us in the industry, except we don't want to face reality and be honest with ourselves. What has happened, or what is happening in Lagos at the moment, is that the Lagos State government has asked all religious centers and events. To be honest, I don't even know why they put us together, because I feel that it may be easier to control religious centers than control partying. Once people drink, a lot of people, you find it difficult to control things. So, it's my industry. I understand the impact on my bank balance, but at the same time, people's lives and health are also, in the equation. So what we've been asked to do is to re-register. So you're supposed to go online, register your event center afresh, and submit, you get a number. Then there's a team that has been put together by the state government. They are going around every single event center and church, mosque, whatever, Babalawo, whatever religious center. What they've done is they've given us rules. Do this, blah, 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 blah. So they will come over to your event center. They would inspect and then either certify you okay to open or not. So for example, we have a hall that typically seats 1,200, 1,300. When they came in for the inspection, they reduced the number to 500 and said, by the time you open, you cannot sit more than 500 in this hall. The table that you have 10 people seated normally before now has been reduced to 5. So what it means is that a lot of things will have to change in the way we do things. They have said you can no longer use plates. And this is, a lot of this information may not be public yet, but that's where we're going at the end of the day. We can no longer use breakable plates and all that. It now has to be disposable plates, disposable spoons and all that. So, however, there's also a clause that on a quarterly basis, there will be a reassessment and review. So the hall that seats 500, that got 500 approved today, by next quarter may be increased to 700, for example, depending on the numbers and how we all respond to the pandemic and all that. So once the governor announces that event centers can open, those of us that have approval can immediately open, while those that don't have will continue their process of getting their approvals in place. So what I'm trying to say is that things are a bit different now, but as time goes on, I believe that things will get better. I believe it's a phase, and we just have to live with the reality of today. So social distancing, instead of 10, you have 5 on the table. Instead of 1,002, 1,003, 1,005 in the hall, you have 500. And by the way, 500 is the maximum that any event center or any hall, no matter how big, will seat as far as Lagos is concerned for now. So even the hotels of this world and co would seat 500 for now. So I believe those are also the kind of things that the government is doing and putting in place. Does it hurt the industry? Is it tough on the business owners? Of course. And by default, that will mean that the figures you charge normally also has to change. That's what it means, without anybody putting into consideration the fact that some people even took bank loans to set up their businesses and things like that, you know. But like the 2 other panelists have said, I mean, doing business in Nigeria is tough. Is just, I mean, sometimes you just wonder if the government deliberately just wants to kill the business, to be honest, because I mean, you know, but I mean, this is a health concern, and I believe we all have to cooperate with the government for now. So I feel that, I don't know about, you know, other states, but the state where I operate, these structures have been put in place. You must have certain things at the entrance. From your gate, there has to be a no mask, no entry sign. And, you know, they will consult spot checks even during events. If they find that, and people are allowed to remove the mask only when they want to eat. So there's just a lot of things we may consider, you know, too much drama, but these things are, you know, have been put in place, I guess, for our safety and all that. So, but I believe that as time goes on, we will gradually, you know, get back to where we are, whilst trusting God that, I mean, this pandemic moves as fast as it can to wherever it came from. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Adetola Juito. Our last question we have, in a time where organizations are cutting the training budget, because for them, that is not their priority. What are your views on this? What business consultants and trainers like us can propose? From Mewa to Senator Kalada. Senator Kalada.
Yes. Well, as has been said, you have to assess your. This is an era where you know your customers. I mean, some of your customers just want you to call them and find out how they're doing. So, of course, you have to remain in business, but and that's why sometimes it's not good to just be in one, even if you're in consulting, you're not just doing training alone. Okay, but if we've been trying to persuade quite a few of our clients, we've not gotten there yet, but we believe they will succumb eventually that, look, you can't just cut out training. So we're pushing on the front of, what's it called now? Virtual training. We're pushing that a lot. So you have to do a bit of advocacy for your industry. So we're pushing very hard for virtual training. And then, just like Adetola said, innovate or die. I mean, I attended the webinar of trainers, I think about a month ago. And one of the members of our association said that she's training people in I've forgotten the country she mentioned, because, you know, it's virtual now. So you can actually train anywhere in the world. So if people in Nigeria have stopped training, have you looked outside? Have you even looked to neighboring Ghana? Okay, so one thing is, like I said, be creative, look for if your clients are not doing training, look for other people that are still training. And the second thing is you have to do some advocacy. That, look, this is not the time to stop training. I mean, sometimes, you know, the stockbrokers, it's advocacy. The stockbrokers tell you that it's when the economy is down, that's the best time to invest. It's advocacy. You get my point? Because, I mean, I don't know, is it right or wrong? But they tell you, they preach it to you that this is the time you need to invest when the economy is down. It's advocacy. So the same thing, you let your clients know that this is the time to train, even though the economy is down. Maybe they don't have the resources or whatever, but you can negotiate. You know, these things are all, you can even discuss, you can even do promotion. I mean, we do a free webinar every month. It's just to, you know, let our clients know that, well, we're still giving you information, even though you're not willing to pay for it. And then, of course, some of them are asking, you know, they're asking questions. Can you do it at a reduced rate? How can we go about it? Can you advise us on cost reduction, other things that don't relate to training? So 2 things, advocacy and then tweaking your business model.
Thank you, sir. On the closing remark, I want Senator Keluo, please, sir, what is needed for turnaround for your closing remarks, sir?
Thank you very much, Bayo. What's needed for turnaround, as far as I'm concerned, I keep talking about this thing from from my own experience, the troubles I had putting together what I did put together way back. Most of them were trainings, okay, getting information on how to move forward. The second thing was fund. That's why I advocate this mentorship and this formalized kind of mentorship and funding. So that's, I think, would go a long way to, and of course we have to put in place something to monitor how we're doing with it. Is it yielding fruit or not? Okay, but I think that's the way I would suggest that we go forward. There are of course many other ways, but that's what comes to my mind easily. Okay. Thank you. And I want to thank everybody for this session. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Senator Adetola Ajuiton, your closing remark?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So way forward, I'll say automate now, not necessarily for the situation of today, but even for the future, with the future in mind. When we're hiring, beyond good grades are good, but there's a bit more that employers will be looking out for from now. Collaboration. There's no better time than to think of coming together to do things together than now. So, I mean, I'll just say that every crisis, however it happens, brings challenges and threats. Finding balance and achieving a healthy mindset, taking action and moving forward, whatever the issues are, I believe, like I said earlier, having a sane mind to be calm, find inner peace during this crisis so that we can make better decisions and lead better businesses. Taking decisions are never final, but change is never absolute. So the economic and societal impact of COVID far exceeds that of previous crises that I've read about. Businesses, consumers are altering their behaviors, buying patterns are changing. So new market needs are driving the creation of innovative technology. So we need to embrace this new normal. Going forward, businesses must identify ways to mitigate the disruption and quickly develop a tactical plan for delivering goods and services. Thank you very, very much for the opportunity to share my thoughts with everyone, and have a really good evening ahead.
Thank you, Adetola. On the final note, the closing remark from Senator Kalada Apiafi.
I think, I'll just add to what they've said a little bit, and some maybe repetition, but there's no doubt about it that you have to leverage on technology. Like Adetola has kept on saying, it's the new normal. There's nothing like post-COVID or anything like that, and then you say you go back to the way things were. So you have to leverage on technology. That's what we're even doing now. We've had this idea for quite some time, but you see, technology now made it possible. When we started gathering every Sunday, how will all senators in the country gather every Sunday? So you have to leverage on technology, and you have to connect with the market. So whatever it takes you, remain relevant to your clients or your customers, remain relevant to them. And this is the time for entrepreneurs to show leadership. You have to show leadership. You're not the one supposed to be complaining that, oh, economy is difficult or whatever. You're supposed to show leadership in terms of getting people to be creative, if that is what is needed. If advocacy is what is needed, you have to be leading the charge for advocacy. And I mean, somebody has raised the issue of training. We should also train our staff. And then for those who are not entrepreneurs, I want to make it very clear that entrepreneurship is not for everybody. You know, a lot of people think entrepreneurship is not for everybody. If you are going into entrepreneurship, brace yourself It's a good vocation. There are a lot of opportunities in the country, but it's not for everybody. If you're a complainer, don't bother to be an entrepreneur. And that is why in Faith Foundation, before, we used to train almost anybody that came along. But now we said that at least for us to even train you as an aspiring entrepreneur, you must have registered a business. You know, people come to me to mentor them and they've not registered a business. That person wants to waste my time. Go and register a business first, then at least I know you've taken the first step. So leverage on technology, try and remain relevant, and then show leadership, strong leadership at this time.
Thank you, sir. My take home, we have to be creative, do more of advocacy. We have to be more innovative, true leadership, promotion, be humble, business automation, collaboration, and technology. Also, entrepreneurship is not meant for everybody. I sincerely want to appreciate all our attendees, all the JCI senators and friends and guests all across the world for joining this Lead Excellence series. On the final note, I will invite my chairman, JCI Nigerian Senate Association, JCI Senator Kumbi Wurola, to give us the closing remark. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our moderator. Senator Bayo Morakinyo is actually the Secretary General of the Africa and Middle East Senate Association, AMESA, and we missed having us together for that summit this year, but God willing, next year we believe that we'll be able to have that summit. I'd like to thank our panelists, Papa K, we call him the living ancestor, Senator Keluo. Initially, Senator Bayo Morakinyo was calling him Senator Kelue, and I saw a chat from Pastor Muyiwa Gbangoshe saying, no, that is not his name. Yes, Senator Keluo Chukwuogo. Thank you very much. And of course, my Aburo, a super girl that we call her, Senator Daytola Juiton, but I won't do the vote of thanks. I would call on someone who's been the past chair of JCI Nigeria Senate Association. He's attended virtually, in fact, the first two Lend series, he's been a participant, and he was just talked somewhere quietly among the participants, but I fished him out today. We call him the traditional prime minister of Ngo-Okpala Autonomous Community, Mark Fintere. I'd like to ask you to please thank our panelists on our behalf, and then I'll give you the heads up for the next Lend series. I'd like to call on Senator Fintere to give the closing remarks and vote of thanks, actually. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody's hearing me now.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, my chair.
We can hear you.
Okay, okay, I have a little job to do. Thank you. Let me begin by thanking you, Chairman. I call you the wartime chairman. I mean, like all great wartime chairmen, Winston Churchill and the rest of them, Barnabas, you have done so greatly with this COVID-19 war, and you are leading us right. The forum, some people say it's a happy birthday forum, but you've turned it to something very useful now, and we are glad to have you as chair. Okay, so I thank the moderator, Bayo, for hosting properly, for managing the process very well, and coordinating the panelists and doing a great job. And then to our panelists proper, let me thank them. Bayo didn't do a very good job with his name, but I think you don't blame him. He also apologized. Kelue Chukwuogo, but I mean, some names are difficult to pronounce, and one of these may be one of them. So I begin with Kelue Chukwuogo. I didn't know him as a JCI member when I knew him. I got to know him because I happened to work in Shell, not as a Shell staff, but as a contractor. And then gas flaring was an issue in Nigeria. I think it's still an issue in Nigeria. And then I heard from some Shell workers how a Nigerian had invented something that can be used to contain or can reduce gas flaring in Nigeria. And I was wondering, who is this Nigerian? He says a young man in Delta State, in Warri. I didn't know he was a JCI member. Then we are all praising him. Oh, great man. Oh, he did a great job. Until I got to know that he is related to another staff of Shell who was also a superstar, Edozie Chukwuogo. And I said, oh, no wonder it runs in the family. Then I got to know that he was a JCI member, or he's a JCI member, and I became very proud of him the more. So Keluwe, thank you very much for taking up this job of helping us with your experiences as an entrepreneur. I thank you, Dr. Keluwe, JCI Senator Keluwe Chukwuogo. Papa K, the living ancestor, Senibo, thank you also for the role you played today. I mean, you took charge of everything. I got to know Papa K so many years ago, and he's a gentleman proper. When I was running for president of JCI Port Harcourt, and he came to me and said, make sure you wear a red tie for your night, and make sure you wear a blue shirt. And I said, what kind of gentleman is this? This must be a perfect gentleman. Even the tie I will wear and the color of shirt I will wear, he tells me. And then he looked at my manifesto and crossed some of the T's and dotted some of the I's. And I said, wow. So you see, he is somebody who is he's not political. You can't know what party he belongs to or what area. Even in JCI, you can hardly know whether he is belonging to your camp or not. He just stays neutral. He's non-tribalistic and all that. So Papa K, thank you for doing a great job today. In Gaborone, I met this lady. We had issues with coming back from Gaborone, and then flight issues and everything, and we were going to be stranded. And I saw a young lady who took charge, collecting money from people, talking to people, and then bringing out her own money to run the thing and making sure everything was perfect. And I said, and I began to wonder who this young lady was. And when I got to know that he was one of us, and then we came back to Nigeria, and I called her and I said, see, you must run for president too. The kind of leadership power you have, we need it in JCI in Nigeria. I'm glad she eventually became the JCI president. And in her year, we saw a lot of changes and a lot of developments. Thank you, Adetola, for also sharing your experiences in today's activity. It looks like your spouse has to be a school owner, because the two men you worked with today, their wives are all school owners. Papa K's wife runs a school, and that's Brookstone. Chukwuogo's wife runs a school, Jefta, one of the best schools also in the East, and not maybe in Nigeria. So, Adetola, marry a spouse who has a school. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, ladies. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe wherever you are. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the traditional Prime Minister. And thank you, everyone, for staying tuned. I try not to run through the list, but I cannot but acknowledge some people, my national president, NJC Ambassador Onyie Mbelejudu, as well as JCI Mauritius presidents. I call them twin sisters now because they're doing a lot of collaboration and they don't have to keep flying back and forth. Thank you for attending. Past chairs of JCI Nigeria Senate, I see Senator Joko Tade Odebumi, JCI Senator GW Oshoaga, of course, Papa K, and TPM are also past chairs of the Senate Association. And of course, past national presidents. I saw Senator Ebiampa somewhere there. I think I saw Senator Richard Ojo, Senator Bisi Aniso. I hope I did. Oh, and of course, Senator Gabriel Idahosa. I hope I've not left out any past. Senator Timeyiwe Jamumeri, I noticed he was also there. And we have some people from the diaspora. I think the first time he's joining us, Senator Niro Fafuora, and of course, Senator Collins from Ireland. Senator Niro is in the US. And I also appreciate some of our members who have consistently attended the Lent series from the beginning. Thank you so much. It's our 3rd edition. Next Sunday, we have a 4th edition, and it's going to be power-packed. The panelists, Senator BK Ogala, Senator Tunde Anifowoshe Kelani, Senator Jokotade Odebumi, and Senator Timei Uwejamomeri will be moderating. It's going to be power-packed. I look forward to seeing you. Today, we have closed in exactly 90 minutes because we're going to be talking politics next week. I hope we'll be able to do this 90 minutes. Thank you so much. Let us continue to keep safe. Let us continue to uphold each other in prayers. And let's also continue to uphold our country, Nigeria, in prayers. I look forward to seeing you again, same time, 4 p.m. next Sunday on the 4th edition of the Lent series. The Lord keep us till then. I wish you all a very beautiful and lovely week. It's been raining, so let's learn to keep warm. I hear the coronavirus likes cold weather, so drink a lot of tea and all of that. I'm sure Senator Patrick Bobegbe will say, where did I get that from? But please let us keep warm and safe. The Lord be with us all. Thank you so much for joining us. It's made pleasure. And can I just say this, that it's 3 more months to go. So I'm almost, my tenure as Senate Chair is almost expiring by October, but it's been wonderful having you. It's not goodbye yet because we still have a few more months to go, but it's been a pleasure leading the Senate Association of JCI Nigeria thus far. I've enjoyed your support and I continue to ask for your support for the association, even as we move forward in the next years to come. Thank you very much and do have a lovely, lovely, lovely evening. God bless. Thank you.